More than 3 billion years ago, bacteria ignited life on our incredible planet through the process of fermentation. This transformative process has been with us since the beginning of time. From the dawn of civilization, human beings, through observation of natural processes, have harnessed the power of microorganisms, namely bacteria, mould and yeast, to transform food. The knowledge and skills involved in fermenting have been handed down from generation to generation. Refrigeration, for many, took away the necessity of fermentation, but today there is a renaissance in this age-old process. The wealth of flavours and textures created through the fermentation process define the diverse food cultures of the world. The unique flavours of Korean kimchi, Nepalese gundrak, Turkish labneh, Indian idli batter, Indonesian tempeh and European sauerkraut, to name but a few, all have their origins in foods found in the local environment. Fermentation is the transformational action of microorganisms such as yeasts, moulds and bacteria. With gentle control, we can manipulate these microorganisms to create nourishing foods and drinks. There are 3 types of fermentation: ethyl alcohol, acetic acid and lactic acid. Ethyl alcohol fermentation is the conversion by beneficial microorganisms of carbohydrates into alcoholic beverages like beer, wine and cider. Acetic fermentation takes place when alcohol is exposed to air and creates vinegar. Lactic acid fermentation occurs when yeasts and bacteria convert starches and sugar into lactic acid. Lactic acid fermentation is used to ferment dairy, grains and vegetables. And it's the benefits and preparation of lactic acid fermented vegetables we're going to concentrate on today. There are many good reasons to include lacto-fermented vegetables in your diet. The beneficial bacteria in these foods help promote good gut health. The process of fermentation breaks down proteins into simple amino acids, fats into fatty acids, and carbohydrates into simple sugars, making these foods easier for us to digest. Fermentation creates greater bioavailability of nutrients to nourish the villi on the gut wall, which in turn means we absorb more nutrients from the gut. The bacteria in lactofermentation can increase levels of vitamins, especially vitamin B. Valuable new micronutrients can also be created that were not present in the original food. For example, during sauerkraut fermentation, the isothiocyanates that are generated are regarded as anti-carcinogenic. By fermenting excess vegetables, you can minimise waste, thus creating greater food resilience. In addition, fermented food can make the inedible edible, as in the case of cassava. Finally, a really important element is lacto-fermented vegetables are both water and energy efficient in the making and in the storing. Equipment needed is simple and minimal. Chopping board, sharp knife, large bowl, spoons, glass jars, for example a Kilner jar, but any wide-mouthed glass jar will do, a weight or jam jar to keep fermenting vegetables submerged under the liquid, muslin and string to fasten. Sauerkraut is simplicity itself. You need cabbage, salt and the addition of a few spices and herbs like garlic, chives and fennel. For each kilo of cabbage you'll need 1½ tablespoons of salt. I'm going to finely slice the cabbage. Place the cabbage in the bowl. Now I'm going to sprinkle with some salt and gently massage the cabbage, breaking down the cells and allowing the juice to run out. Slowly it begins to glisten. Lots of beautiful juice, so we're ready to pack it in the jar. Put in 2 handfuls and press right down to take all the air out and bring those juices up over the cabbage. I'm going to layer this sauerkraut up with a little bit of fennel seed, and each layer needs a little sprinkling of salt. Now we do another layer, and again press down. And repeat the process until the jar is full. At this stage, it's really important to make sure the cabbage stays submerged, so you need a weight. Simply use a jar filled with water. Place the jar on a plate to catch all the overflowing juice. Stand the plate on the side in a kitchen and leave to ferment for about 10 days, though the length of time will depend on how much salt you've used and the temperature of your kitchen. Each day, gently press down on the cabbage using the jar to make sure the cabbage stays submerged under the liquid. Over the next few days, the cabbage will ferment, the juice will rise up and over, and the plate will catch it. Protect your cabbage from flies and little creatures by fastening with a piece of muslin. When the bubbling activity of the ferment subsides, taste your cabbage. If you prefer it just a little bit more tangy or acidic, leave it for a little longer. But be sure to top up with water as necessary to keep the cabbage submerged under liquid. When you're happy with the flavour, it's ready to eat, or store in a cool, dry place with a loose-fitting lid. You can add a variety of other vegetables, either grated or sliced, to this basic method. One of my favourites is carrot with apple and caraway. In addition to the myriad of environmental and health reasons for making and eating lacto-fermented vegetables, they also taste delicious and are full of wonderful textures and flavours.